I was ironing my old wedding tablecloth when my daughter banned me from Thanksgiving. My name is Amir Hale. I turned 70 this spring. People say I'm steady, slow to anger, careful with my words. I like bills paid on time, shirts folded square, a house quiet enough to hear the kettle click when it cools. That morning, the linen lay smooth beneath my iron, pale cream with tiny ivy stitched into the corners. I planned to use it for Thanksgiving, even though my daughter Petra had offered to host. Offered for Petra usually meant my recipes, my money, her praise. My phone buzzed beside the teacup. "You're banned from Thanksgiving, idiot." No greeting, no joke, just that. The kind of cruelty that lands soft and burns slow. I waited for a second message, a just kidding that never came. The room seemed to contract around the words. I set the phone down, adjusted my glasses, and typed one word back. Okay. Then I went to my desk by the window. The brass lamp, the old checkbook I still balanced by hand, waited like witnesses. I paged through the ledger: family phone plan, power bill, mortgage supplement, insurance copays, groceries, little extras that had become routine. Beside each line, I drew a single neat strike, canceling my part. By the time I finished, the page looked clean again. The November light outside was thin and silver. Oak leaves shivered against the glass. The house felt still, not empty, just finally still. I folded the tablecloth and slid it back into the drawer. Thanksgiving would carry on without me, and for the first time, that felt fine. Tomorrow, I decided, I'd start sorting the rest. 10 years earlier, when my husband died after his second stroke, the house had felt too large for one grieving woman. Petra moved back in to help, bringing her husband, Evan, and more boxes than I thought could fit in a car. At first, their presence was a comfort. Voices in the kitchen, someone to eat with, laughter in the hallway. Petra took over the grocery list, the mail, the accounts. "You shouldn't worry about all that, Mom. I'll handle it," she said. And at first, it sounded like kindness. Then came her second degree, a master's program she said would secure her future. I signed the forms, paid the $23,000 tuition, and told myself it was an investment in her independence. When Evan's business faltered, I covered late payments and stayed quiet. Little notes appeared by the coffee maker. "We'll repay you once things stabilize. Promise." But stabilize never arrived. The bills did. "Mom, you wouldn't understand," she told me once when I asked about the mounting debts. "The economy is different now." "Grief doesn't pay the mortgage," I answered. She gave me a pitying smile, kissed my cheek, and changed the subject. Years slipped by. Sunday brunches for show, photos and matching sweaters for the church bulletin, Petra's hand on my arm like she was the devoted daughter. Meanwhile, more accounts quietly shifted into my name. I became embarrassed about being careful with money in my own house. When the family group chat lit up about Thanksgiving, my screen filled with recipes, jokes, and plans. "Can't wait for Thursday. We'll bring the sweet potatoes." My name was missing. "Did you forget me?" I typed. The typing bubbles appeared, disappeared. Finally, Petra replied, "Limited seating. Try Christmas if you behave. Behave at 70. I called her. Laughter and clinking dishes echoed behind her. "What is this about?" I asked. "You embarrassed Dylan," she said sharply. "At his promotion dinner, he's still upset." I asked why he was bragging about his bonus while still borrowing money from me, I said. "That's not embarrassment, that's truth." "Mom," she sighed, the way people do when they wish you'd vanish for a moment. In the background, I heard Patrice's voice. "There she goes again, budget police." Laughter followed. "Petra," I said quietly, "stop using my debit card for the electric bill." The laughter cut off. Silence hummed through the line. Then the call dropped. Thanksgiving came with no invitation, just a photo on my phone. Petra at my old china-laden table, my candlesticks glowing, my stuffing recipe in the center. "Best family ever," the caption read. They'd tagged everyone but me. Later, a text arrived. "We saved you a plate. Porch pickup." I drove over. The plate sat on the step, foil ripped, a neighborhood cat licking the gravy. I watched it eat, then turned around and drove home. I didn't knock. That night, I pulled out my husband's old ledger. The pages smelled faintly of salt and varnish from his boat repair days. On the first blank page, I wrote the date and started listing. Electric bill, 4 years. phone plan, all lines, Petra's tuition, $23,000, Evan's emergency dental visit, $850, temporary mortgage supplement, nearly $200 a month for 6 years, groceries, co-pays, holidays. The numbers climbed. When they passed 30,000, I stopped counting. At the top of the next page, I wrote, "This isn't revenge, it's reckoning." I taped in receipts I'd kept out of habit grocery slips, printed statements, proof of every yes. The pages became a patchwork of my generosity. When I closed the book, my hands smelled of ink and glue, but my chest felt lighter. A few days later, I met my friend, Mrs. Lyle, at our usual cafe table by the window. "I brought the ledger," I said, sliding it to her. She read in silence, making notes on her coffee sleeve. When she looked up, her voice was gentle. "You've been financing affection, Amir." "I thought I was helping," I said. "You were," she answered, "but helping stops when it hurts the helper. That's the part they never tell you." She pulled forms from her bag, bank authorizations, account changes, service cancellations. "Step by step," she said. "You revoke autopay, you move your account numbers, you tell them this change is final." "She's still my daughter," I whispered. "Then teach her what mothers rarely do," she said. "Consequences." My hand shook as I signed the first line. It steadied by the third. "That's not punishment," she said. "That's protection." The next morning, I started with the electric company. "Remove my card from all linked accounts," I told the woman on the line. "Would you like to add a new one?" she asked. "No, just remove it." Then I logged onto the phone plan, removing Petra and Evan's numbers. Finally, I called the mortgage holder and canceled the automatic payments they'd quietly leaned on. By afternoon, my list was complete. The house hummed with a quiet I recognized from before all the help. The calls began that night. First a few, then dozens. Voicemails stacked up. "Mom, the Wi-Fi is down. Did you forget to pay? Are you trying to prove a point? This is ridiculous. Please call me back." I set the phone face down, filled the kettle, and watched the rain creep down the window. At dawn, Petra called. Her voice splintered. "Mom, the mortgage payment bounced. They're charging a late fee. Can you please fix this?" "I'll come by," I said, "and I'll bring the binder." Their kitchen smelled of burnt coffee and panic. I laid the binder on the table and opened it so they could see the highlighted payments, the traced transfers, the years of quiet support. "You banned me from Thanksgiving," I said softly. "Now I'm banning myself from being your bank." "I didn't realize it was this much," Petra whispered. "That's the problem," I said. "You didn't want to realize." Evan bristled. "This feels personal." "It is," I said. "So was every time you used my card." I slid a sticky note toward them. On it, simple instructions for setting up their own autopay. "You're capable adults," I said, standing. "Start acting like it." 3 days later, the family group chat twitched back to life. Someone asked who was handling the shared bills now. No one volunteered. Petra went silent online. No photos, no quotes. My phone, too, grew quiet. Evenings expanded into time for violets and folded laundry, the radio low. One night, a single message appeared from Petra. "I didn't realize how much you did. I'm sorry." No excuses, no demands, just that. I read it, let the words sink in, then set the phone down. I didn't reply. I didn't delete it. I let the apology exist, like a door barely cracked open. By spring, Savannah had softened again. I was teaching sewing classes at the library, 6 women learning to mend what could be saved. One of them hugged me and said, "You've got the hands of someone who's repaired more than cloth." She wasn't wrong. That evening, I walked home with a tin of loose buttons. On my porch, the lamp I'd rewired myself glowed steadily above a small brass plaque I'd had made, built by boundaries, kept by respect. I was standing there when I heard a car door close. "Mom?" Petra stood at the walkway, holding a paper bag. "I brought lemon bars," she said. "I remembered you liked them." "They'll go well with tea," I answered. We sat on the steps, mugs warming our hands, exchanging small talk about work and her garden. No accusations, no ledger between us this time. Only pauses and careful words, like new stitches in thin fabric. She glanced up at the porch lamp and brushed her thumb over the plaque. "That's nice," she said. "It is," I agreed. When she left, she hugged me briefly, awkward but sincere. I watched her car disappear, then went inside and turned off the porch light. The house held its calm, no longer empty, no longer crowded, simply mine.